All right, Brian, we're here, ready to roll. For those that don't know, this is Brian Decoded. I'm Alex, and this is the Catalyst Creators podcast that we have been making. So, Brian, pleasure to have you here. Just wanted to basically have a conversation, learn a little bit more about you and your business. We've been connected for basically a year now, right?
It was a pleasure, man. It was a good year also.
Yeah.
I've been watching your ascend the whole time. It was, you know, the personal stuff, popping in, popping out, the the good stuff. You had a nice life for that year. It was really good watching that.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. And it's been fun watching each other grow as well. And this we met in Cortex. Well, and it was March. So yeah, pretty much 12 months from now.
Yeah, it was a good educational experience, that's for sure.
Definitely. Definitely. But I would love to hear your story and your background because I went on your X bio and I saw that you started as offshore $4 an hour working and would love to hear the background of Brian Decoded.
So, graduated investment banking. It's kind of like a less known fact, but had high profile internships in treasuries of the banks, and that experience has like made me rethink my life. Do I want to suit up every day? Do I want to follow the rules of the bureaucracy? I'm like, this doesn't seem right. Like, I don't want to go there. And then the last year of college, uh, I make a decision to pivot into digital. And a friend sees that I'm like building websites. Like, I start setting up a WordPress site completely as a project of my own. There was like, I'll just build a website, I'll drive traffic to it, I'll figure it out, I'll monetize AdSense or something like that. And in doing that, I've learned pretty much everything that I know today. Everything started with, hey, just build your first site. Like, you'll learn so much from it. And I think that the first lesson that I covered that in one of my courses, Profitable Websites from Scratch. Uh, how to set up your DNS, how to set up your email. All these things like are foundational for every business, and I think a lot of people like think of those as an afterthought until it's not working right. So that's how I started out. And once my one of my friends saw that I built my own website, he's like, "Well, you gotta come to." He got the referral commission from bringing me into the company, but he said like, "Hey, this guy's like very smart. He can build his own website. It's like you should work with us." And they offered me $4 an hour, and then they bumped it like to five. So, so he brings me into the company, and I start writing like meta descriptions. I think now there's no even a need for a person to write meta descriptions that gets written out by AI these days. But that was like my first job. Like, hey, you're doing SEO for a website and optimization. And that was a wild, wild west of the SEO. That was 2010. I remember we were bulk buying backlinks, and you could buy backlinks. You could like log in into a dashboard, and like I want 400 backlinks. I want this anchor text, and click of a button, you would get all of that, and you would start ranking within hours. That's how SEO was operating. You literally were manipulating Google's search engine in real time. Like, it was like black hat component of the job that I was doing. And then the Penguin hit, which is like a big algorithm update where if you're over optimizing the anchor text, your website gets penalized. So we've like seen 80% of the websites that were ranking for that company just completely get wiped out. And I was like a little piece in all that game. Like, I was like doing the menial work for the people that were running the strategy and that actually needed that done, right? And in doing so, it opened up a lot of insights for me that once I moved to the United States, like 2 years later, uh, all those skills that I've acquired over there helped me land my first job, where I was. I ended up being responsible for over 4,000 websites. All of them were in short-term financing, like helping people get loans, and we were doing like these location websites, location specific, like keyword and a city name, and like I think by the time I left the company, I was with that company for like 6, 7 years. we had a network of like 6,000 websites. I picked it up like with a thousand websites, and I left it off with like 6,000. It was really crazy times. It's not like until you get on the internet that you can understand how much things can scale, and that business was generating at the peak of it around 50 million a year, and I was the chief marketing officer for that company. So that was kind of like a genesis story, and then like one day, December 26th, like, hey guys, I'm on my own. Like no severance, no Cobra insurance, nothing. I'm like, so I'm just leaving and I'm starting my own thing, and here I am. And the thing is Alpha Efficiency. It's an agency, and started with some referral people sending us email marketing projects. They were selling data. Their company wasn't fulfilling on the email marketing. They asked us like, can you guys do this? I had like a small team. We were freelancing all the way back to 2014. I was like, yes, we can do it. And then $100,000 later, I'm like, is this how it is to be in business? Like, because in 3 months, I cleared like over $100,000 because I had good referrals. And I'm like, staying a job is a bigger risk at this point than going out on my own.
So what was that point where you realized that I need to break away, be on my own, be able to start that out, and walk us through the experience of that moment where you're walking out of the door? Because I know within my experience of going full time into the creator model, you feel free on the first 10 steps, and then the panic sets in where you're like, all right, it's all up to me. I got to do this. And it does allow for it to be inevitable that you're going to break through because of that, I guess, lack of parachute, I'll say. But take us through your mindset when you're just leaving to be on your own and how that came to be.
It was my vacation in November 2018. I was in Barcelona, and the Victor and Toma, the guys that were sending me these referrals, they started sending me referrals while I was on vacation. Like, I'm coming back from a vacation with like $15,000 more in my bank account than what I had when I was leaving for a vacation, and I was like, what the hell just happened? Because in 10 days being in Barcelona, I made like my 2 paychecks. I'm like, something's got to change over here. Like,
You go on vacation more often.
that whole trend about take a vacation and see what happens happened like a following year. I took a trip to Ibiza, and then Dan Bilzerian signed our project for Ignite. We were like creating a booking system for all the girls that wanted to go to his parties, and my team like designed it, coded it out. But like, I got approval and a first down payment like when I landed on Ibiza. I was like, what? Like, it's just crazy. I love traveling. It's a big cornerstone of my brand. I would even say, like, if you even can call it a brand. I have a profile. I'm not into personal brand kind of situation. But you'll always see me post pictures from vacations and stuff like that. And every time, like, when I'm doubting myself, like, should I go on a vacation? I'm like, just fuck it. Like, just go.
I think something you said I really want to get into because of the idea that you're saying it's just my life. It's not really like a personal brand. And I think the people that struggle the most with creating a personal brand are so focused on the idea of personal brand and the pillars and everything like that. And they just, with all of that studying, they end up going away from who they actually are to then create this more facade of who they think they should be to be able to sell this and things like that. And I think that most people, it's such a backwards game. I know Mark Manson always talks about it. It's people that are the most interesting are the least agreeable, and the people that build the best personal brands don't see it as a personal brand. They just see it as them just posting whatever they're thinking that day instead of just thinking about it for 20 hours, writing all this research and things like that. So you've grown your profile on X to 65,000 now, something nice and big. But I'd love to ask how do you think that has played into the growth just within socials as well as your business within more just using your personality as kind of that cornerstone, just like you were saying with travel and everything like that?
So, like way back in 2016, um, I had people inbound approach me for coaching, as like more like life coaching, that added like a substantial amount of revenue that I wasn't even selling it. Like I didn't have an offer until like a formulated offer. We were doing mostly custom done for you work, like custom, like hey, you need this, we sell you that, and then we give you a price based on the labor required to fulfill whatever you needed. But I had that one coaching opportunity that came my way, and it added like 2K a month while I had a job. So it like really created a smooth and padding, and it just like happened. Like, dude, I was just shit posting on Twitter, like simply put, like not to sugarcoat it in any way. I was just like talking whatever came to my mind, and the profile was growing nicely. It was like I don't know, 15, 20,000 followers, just like from conversations. Like I treated it more like just like a outbound channel and just posting, and people were like latching onto that. But like that coaching opportunity, like over time, probably generated over $100,000, which I helped the person to the best of my ability. And but I'm just like I never offer coaching. Like I just want to distinguish that. Like I'm not one of those people like talking head videos. Like let me get the coaching client. Like I think coaching is the least appealing way to make money online. I'll just say it like that. I think people kind of hop onto it because it seems easy, but if you're truly coaching a person, you're giving a lot of your own energy, right? And this energy blockage prevents you from like reaching the higher levels. So I never, if you need an extra money and there's like an opportunity that it's like healthy and natural, yeah, do it. Like it happened to me, but just in general, I'm not like an advocate of coaching, more like someone who demonstrates the ability and you figure it out from on your own kind of guy. That is like a much healthier model because it allows you to be you and to give people the permission to execute. A coaching, like, it's just like so much energy goes into it, and you feel responsible for your coachee. And like I think like in my totality of my career, I've done three mentorship opportunities so far. Two of them were positive, and one of them was negative. And that negative experience like led me to I don't want to do this. Like, I literally don't want to do this because like I don't want to be accountable for somebody else's shortcomings because I take them personally. Like oh my god, like
Exactly.
I failed my guy. Like he's failing on his own, but like I failed my guy. I don't want that to happen.
It's
So
a level of understanding just the positioning, and I think a lot of people, it's tough because you feel accountable for every action they take, and then it ends up taking a lot more time for you because you want to see that success for them. And I think it's just a level of accepting responsibility for them, accepting responsibility for the work that they have to get done forward, and then you accepting what you can be able to provide for them. And it's that same saying, you can teach them how to fish and they'll feed themselves for life, but you can't fish for them and you can't do that for them. But you feel this compelling urge to be able to do it for them when you're coaching, especially. So I think within coaching, it is a classic misconception of just, all right, I want to just shove everyone in the coaching program, just have them do this. And there's usually some kind of promise that usually doesn't get delivered upon, and you want to be able to under promise and over deliver. And I think it can work for people when you have a service that you're able to do. And if someone's not willing to pay for that high of a service, then be able to say, all right, then if the next best thing I can do for you is offer you the resources and the tools for you to learn how to do this on your own. Because when you position it in a way where it comes across where I'll put you in the educational sphere and positioning to be able to have that success, then it takes off the pressure of I'm going to have to do the success for them. It's just giving them that kind of opportunity.
I think I've been blessed that I've embarked on a very good coaching program that got shut down. Actually, is getting shut down this month. It's you gurus and Brent Weaver. They existed for 12 years and they printed out millionaires, which is really impressive. Got us to that point as well. The coaching program was teaching people how to think like an entrepreneur, how to acquire bootstrap marketing for your business, and how to deliver on the agency promise and how to structure the products, etc. That made total sense. And having the accountability partner and the Barbara as a mentor within that community, and the advice she gave us like really helped us transform and double our income in 1 year from applying one single advice. So when you have the context from what you're trying to achieve, okay, I'm running an agency, so I was in an agency coaching program, and the person that's providing you the context, the value that they can add to you because they understand where you're at. It's not like, oh, I just watch a YouTube video and I figure something out. The human component of working with companies and like creating the alignment between my employees, between the employees of the other company, the stakeholder that's making a decision to work with us, finding that alignment can be tricky. It can be very stressful. Like when you have six-figure projects in the pipeline and something goes wrong, and your revenue's on the line, your heart rate goes up. It's not for the weak. It's not for the weak.
No, none of this is, and it's just that's the idea of entrepreneurship. Is it's simply not for the weak. I mean, there's some days you'll have a day today where you'll say everything's working perfectly and smoothly, and then tomorrow will be hell. And you got to ride those waves. You got to ride that roller coaster. And I think, especially with the coaching program, I think ironically, the best coaching programs I have been in and I've understood for myself are those that are geared around more mindset of entrepreneurs and being able to build through that. There's a lot of people that just want the ROI. They want a coaching program that's going to get them this number, but they can't get anywhere without the foundation of at least thinking like an entrepreneur. Some people come to me and they talk to me about, I have been writing or I've been doing this kind of service for this many years, but I didn't feel like I deserved to be earning this much. And so I never sold myself, or I never wanted to try to push people to buy my offer, even though I knew it had more value than this person who was doing a lot less and things like that. So it's a lot of mindset things that people need to be able to make money. But since when you hear mindset coaching and things like that, a lot of people don't see the ROI in it, so they end up not doing it at all. But I find it to be the very foundational presence of what most successful entrepreneurs credit their business success to.
I think that a lot of people want to skip steps, especially in the creator economy. Let's mention Danco in this story. I think that a lot of people see Danco and they say, I want to be a creator from the get-go. And the imposter syndrome has been lurking around the whole concept, and everyone's complaining like, I feel like an imposter. And I feel that you have to go through the stages. Like if you observe Danco, he started as a web developer, web designer, and he was providing that service for a good year before he matured into a creator. Like it took some time, right? And it showcased competence. So that gave him the permission, like, hey, I've done this, so I can teach this. And I think a lot of people, they're just coming in and they want to talk about things that they don't really know about. And it shows in their content, in their personality, etc. And I'm dead set on saying that one person business is very interesting to people until they learn that they have to do the work themselves. And this was like really popular tweet popped up on my Twitter. And in this point, like you really don't want to create an identity around what you do. You want to create an identity more about who you want to become. An aspirational identity is better because you're always aspiring to something. And then when you're not there, people don't judge you for it. They're like, they can even encourage you, like, oh, you're an aspiring this. Or like, I think that a really good metaphor for this or not even a metaphor, a really good positioning was like, you want to start talking about certain thing online, you can become an enthusiast. Like for years, I was a productivity guy on Twitter. I was talking about Apple devices and productivity apps that I geeked on as a younger person, and it awarded me so many friends over time. It's like I have some people that I know online for 20 years. That's how long that I've nurtured these connections. Some of them, like 20 years later, became my client. That I knew when I was like finishing college and learning things from them. Like there's a doctor, psychiatrist from Chicago, Kuros Dini. Shout out to him, really cool guy. He talks about psychology of work. Like how do you force yourself into doing things that you're procrastinating on, and things like that. And an actual therapist and a psychiatrist has actual clients, has his own community, and it helps people overcome that problem of not wanting to do something. It's a person that I know since I was like 20s, in my 20s. One of the first people that I get to know online, and like 20 years later, I met him in person. So it's pretty wild. Internet's pretty wild.
It's a jungle, and it's a nuts place. And I think something that I would love to touch on, because you had so many good points throughout that as well, was even in when you were talking about Danco, he earned the right to be a generalist, and you have to earn the right to expand your niche, to generalize. And a lot of people do have those mistakes that you talked about, where they just want to come in, educate, even though they don't know what they're talking about. And I know this because I did this. I mean, you met me 12 months ago when I was first posting out, and I was just kind of posting different things, trying to feel it out. I have my psychology degree in industrial psychology, so I do have some experience in the business psychology on the education and work front, but I've never taught it myself, or I've done consulting for people, but not from the online business perspective, where it became a whole new world, where I was posting and trying to kind of fit in with certain areas. But at the end of the day, something that you have to learn the hard way, especially, is that you have to bring value to people just up front. When most people that are coaches, that try to be coaches from day one, feel that imposter syndrome, and I'm sorry to say, but most people are feeling that because they're most likely are those kind of imposters, because they're trying to build that out when they haven't provided enough value and service to people up front. And that's simply what it is. And I think the best creators, Nathaniel is a good friend of mine, a good ghostwriter, and he now teaches people on ghostwriting, but he was providing that value ghostwriting for people first to then get up to that position. So that's someone that's earned the right to more generalize. And I think that is something that a lot of people learn throughout the way. It does take a lot of time. Some people will burn out before that. Other people may not, and just kind of realize it. But it is all kind of within your own trial and error. And this is why I think people, obviously, that stay with it and not just stay consistent, but learn from the consistency, it becomes inevitable of their success. Because something that I've learned, especially posting in the beginning, and a lot of people do this, is if you learn from Dan Coe, or if you learn from Taylor Simmons or Dakota Robertson, you start writing like them, exactly like them. It's like when you first start a sales job and you get a sales script. You just stick to the script and you write it out, and you're very robotic and you're not natural and authentic. But the more comfortable you get within your own sphere, the more you give yourself permission to be yourself. And I think that's really when the transition starts to happen.
Well, when it comes down to writing, it takes time to become good at writing. And I think I've been seeing so much more AI slop everywhere around, and people don't realize that readers, 30% of the internet reads primarily as a primary preferred way of consuming information. And they read thoroughly. So you can't just blurb out sentences and fill up the word count. You have to put the thought into it. And for me, the challenge with writing, I've been writing for forever. Like I've been journaling since I was 15. I've been writing blog posts for Alpha Efficiency since 2010. And one thing that happened over time is that my English got refined. This is my second language, and a lot of nuance of the English language was missed because you miss it when you're not living in the United States. So I moved here in 2013. So it took me a good 10 years to internalize the English language at the level where it's at now, that I can actually use the language and the nuance of it to break through. And even though I aspire to write at a fourth, third grade level, however simple I can make it. But even then, the colloquialisms that you need to utilize in order to get the point across, and that you know that the other person understood really well, that was missed. And it's not been like in the last, I would say, year and a half where I've been writing like a beast every day to bridge that gap that I am falling behind some of the more prolific writers out there. So took a long time that I'm feeling comfortable, like, okay, now I'm cranking out some masterpieces over here. I really want people to read these things, not because I'm boasting myself, but because I've worked so hard that I know it's a good piece. And I've been reading so much that I could make a positioning of my content, knowing that for a person that I'm writing, like an avatar to whom I'm talking to in that letter, is going to say, yeah, this was like great. And it took a lot of feedback, like one of the good things that can help your writing skills is when you figure out whom you're writing to, you write it out and you DM 10 people and like, can you get me feedback on this? And that's how you get like some real life feedback on your work.
And there's so many people that they don't want to DM people and ask for other opinions because they're afraid that it might lower their value or authority and things like that. But there's some people that I've asked for advice that ended up becoming my clients later on. I mean, it's just asking genuine feedback. And when you have a nice change of pace of everyone trying to act perfect in every spot, it becomes more of a realistic landscape.
That proves a good point. I started writing some sales letters and I sent it over for feedback. And the best feedback that I got was like, it wasn't even on a sales page. It was in a Google Doc or Notion rather. And I sent over a sales letter and the guy's like, can you send me the purchase link? After they finish reading, that's good feedback. Like, you hit the home run when your sales letter actually sells. It kind of gives you permission to promote. That's a good mode to whatever it is that you're doing.
And it's a non-needy networking and sales process. Is you're not putting someone in a corner of buy or don't buy, and you give them that kind of ultimatum. Of course, you want to feel confident in what you're selling and how to be able to approach that, but it's all within the psychology. I think people love the slogan, but they don't incorporate it, which is people love to buy but hate to be sold to. Everyone's heard of that, but not a lot of people incorporate this within the psychology of their writing and things like that, which I think are so important. Like, I think in the sales process, something that I like to do and talk about is you educate all throughout. And then when you get to the pitch, you say, if you think this could be helpful to your business, or if you find this is something that you may need for your business, then enter call to action. As opposed to, this is the information, you should go buy it now. That feels a little bit more pushy, and it doesn't feel like it's my choice to then go click onto it. So I think when people hear that psychology of people love to buy but hate to be sold to, it clicks, but it doesn't click in the writing and the communication that's being presented within the sale.
I would say that people need to remember that people really love buying. And they love buying if the buying experience is actually interesting. And most people don't know how to make their products interesting. And that is a mental game through which we have to go through, right? For me, it's never like a do or die. I have to have my content to live by because people just know me and they know that we deliver like ultra fast websites that are improving bottom line of the company anywhere between 10 to 50%. Like, we just made over $100,000 on one product line for one of our clients in 1 month, and that's going to be recurring. So like, we just added 1.2 million of annual recurring revenue, and people hear that and it's like, okay, we're going to work with these guys. They know the tech, they know they know how to do these things, and it put us in a good spot where I don't have to write for a living. But I felt compelled because the more you get out there, the more ideas you put out there, the more of a mental real estate you earn, and that accumulates over time. Like, just imagine how many hours of watch time, of total watch time, does Alex Hormozy have. So we're not talking about like, oh, it's technology happened on YouTube and how many views this guy had. Like, think about all the neurochemical reactions that spurred up in people's minds as they're watching the content. That is the physical representation of this digital world. Like, it actually exists in somebody else's brain. Like, it occupied the space. And that is the fight of our lives, occupying that space. And it's something that's a long-term investment, and people don't understand that. It's really hard to grasp, like, the concept that you actually live inside of other people's minds.
I think it's also that idea of relatability through originality. Something that I found that Dan Coe particularly, obviously we both have been familiar with his work and is an expert in, was actually just flying out to Florida the other day, and I was reading The Art of Focus. And I think something that he does so masterfully that really resonates with a lot of people is he goes through those deep inner thoughts of not feeling like he's belonging in a world that is 9 to 5 work and just not accepting that as his reality. And a lot of people feel this internal battle within themselves, but they kind of feel alone in that area. So when someone goes out and says it, that level of relatability of not feeling alone, it makes you really resonate with a message so deeply. But I want to ask you a question, Brian, because I know you're saying that you're talking to, when you're selling to people, people know your results and they know what you can provide, and you have such a speed of success as well throughout your business. But for the average listener, let's say, that doesn't have great credentials, doesn't have a lot of experience or results, just a brain teaser, how would you go about trying to sell their offer for someone that's new? Would you go the guarantee route? Would there be something that you would be thinking of for someone that is more starting out?
So I would always go the route of done for you services, because they can be priced based on the value that you provide. And when you don't have any proof, I would go and earn the proof. The first thing that I would tell to people, don't ever do any work for free, because it destroys your own self-worth. I'm not saying don't do it for cheap. I'm just saying don't do it for free, because you're going to attract the worst possible buyer and you're just going to destroy your own experience. Person that is notable, they will have a budget. Even if it's a small budget, they will have a budget to pay someone. Like, we have an internship program in my company. I never had anyone go through an unpaid internship, just because it's changing person's mind about themselves, especially when they're earning their first income, that they're making money. It's very exciting to people, especially young people, that they're making some money. So you shouldn't have shame, because there's intrinsic value in who you are, just as a human being. Your brain, your personality, the way that your parents brought you up, it has intrinsic value. And you can charge small amounts to get the case study or testimonial or something like that, where you will put in your best foot forward. And you have to remind yourself in that instance, you're not really doing this to make the money. You're doing this to make yourself. And in doing so, and getting your first reviews and documenting those reviews, it's very important to have these reviews documented, because that mountain of proof. Like, Alpha Efficiency has 140 combined positive reviews between Upwork, Clutch, Google reviews, Yelp. Like, this 140 reviews that we have are a mountain of evidence coupled with our portfolio. I don't negotiate. I come to a call and I state my price, because I have a mountain of proof demonstrating that I can do it. If someone wants to get a cheaper price, he can go and negotiate with someone else. It's completely fine. Like, we just know what is the value that we bring to the table and how long it takes to get that work done. So if you're starting out, do it for the cheap. get 10 testimonials, prove the competence, and everything after becomes just the attraction. You don't have to work so hard. You just need to bring eyeballs to your website or to your profile, whatever it is that you want to showcase. So, example, you want to sell ghostwriting. Well, ghostwrite for yourself, get some results, get some hard viral threads. It's very easy to approach someone like, hey, this is my portfolio. I did these 20 tweets. They popped off over 1 million impressions each. Hire me. I'll do it for you. Like, then people will know, yeah, this guy has competence to do it. So, like, I would start by creating that proof, because after that, everything just flows so easily. You get to be cocky if you want to on a sales call. You are worth something at that point. You have the proof. This other person needs to prove to you at that point that they actually have the money.
It's a lot easier to stand your ground in that way, and especially within those sales, because it's the power of negotiation. And the psychology of negotiation is simply whoever's the most willing to walk away first has the strong hand, and that's just the simple truth of it. So when you're making your first sale, you don't have the power at all because you want that sale so badly, and you're willing to negotiate down, and you're losing value. And the person like yourself with that many backings of testimonials and credibility, this is what I service. This is the proof I have. Take it or leave it. I don't settle for anything less. And also, just like you were saying, the worst kind of clients are the ones that usually come for either free or extremely cheap because there's not really any buy-in to your success. It's, I'm hoping they're just going to do all this work for me, and if they're not, then I don't have to take any accountability because it doesn't really cost me anything to worry about it.
I think that the sales process is very much tied to the self-worth that you feel on a daily basis. And if you can control your need for money, at least in that 60 minutes time window or 30 minutes time window when you're doing the sales call, and if you can detach your feelings, and actually that detachment from feelings during the sales call is revenue generating, because you can get emotionally involved into a sale even when you have a lot of money on the back end. The deal size is so high that it can impact your internal regulation about that particular sales call. So I would say that if you want to be a really successful salesperson, you have to learn that detachment and to be carefree, and you don't have a control over the outcome. I mean, sales and marketing, you have more control in a sales call over whether someone will buy or not in that particular situation. But I would say that translates into marketing as well, because if your content and your marketing efforts, if they can pick up the neediness that you have from your day-to-day life, it can translate into your content and marketing. So I would say detachment overall is a way to attract, because you can't really make someone do something, but you can present things where they can make their own decision about doing the thing that you want them to do or buy your service. Like, after doing about 3,000 sales calls throughout my career, I can say this with utmost certainty that I had calls where I was like, I nailed this, I got this, and they just ghosted me after. And then I had situations where I just sent the proposal. I was like, I forgot about it, and then the guy swipes a credit card without even telling me anything. I'm like, what? I was not seeing that coming. So it can really swing both ways, and then it humbles you. You say, no matter how well I know people, the only thing that I really need to know is myself, and knowing that I need to detach. The more detached you are from the outcome, the more control you have over yourself.
That's such a good clip I'm going to be taken from this, because the idea of emotional detachment is so important because of that emotional investment. It creates such a panic and worry to people that, especially are maybe not as experienced with sales, fall into. And then it becomes that side of desperation that people see that makes it worse. and makes it just less of a chance of someone to buy. And there's so many analogies I always hear of sales and dating being so similar when it comes to like having.
One to one.
Exactly. Yeah.
One
Just
to one.
different ways of, if you're sending double, triple texts, you're less likely to get a date. Same way if you're, doing the same thing from a sales perspective. So it's all about perceived value and authority.
I mean, there's different ways to close a sale. You can. I'm a service provider, and clients do look sometimes, depending on the price point. But if the price point is right, like we'll follow the lead of a client. But 9 out of 10 times we'll lead the client because we know how to get where they need to be faster than they know. But in certain instances, for the right price, we took on the clients that guided the whole interaction. Sometimes it was just easier for me. Like, okay, you manage my team instead of me. Do the job yourself, no problem. Like, it's great. Like, I cash collected, no work done on my part. So it really depends on the situation. Like, and I've seen myself close 6-figure deals being completely subservient. Like, where I completely put my ego down. What do you need? Take notes. Here's a proposal. This is what you were looking for. Stroke their ego, humble to the core. Collect my check. It happens. Like, there's different ways that you can close a sale. You don't use the same sales mechanism on every sales call that you hop on, because every person is different.
It's very different, especially, and I think that's psychologically, it's just very important to be able to match energies and be able to understand the perspective and dynamic that you're in. If there's some people that may need more guidance where they want you to kind of tell them exactly what you have to do, where you have to be, and there are people that kind of have maybe the more inflated egos that want to be able to tell you what they need and then kind of have you be in that more subservient position. So it is really about just managing different personalities and being able to understand. And of course, most of it comes with learning the process from experience, but being able to be in different mindsets and be able to match energies in different levels is very important. I know within psychology of sales, this one woman, I believe I saw on Instagram, talked about just selling to women versus selling to men and just how different it can be. Typically, when she was selling to men, you kind of want it to be their idea that they want to buy from you, and women maybe want to be more led into the sale and just the step by step. Now that is more of a generalization, but it is the same idea that it is different personality types and different types of ways of dealing with a sales call. One size does not fit all.
It's pretty good observation. But men like to be led too. It's a lot of estrogen in the men's world this day, so not all men are created equal, I would say. Oh, that's controversial.
No, that's for sure though. I definitely get what you're saying. I mean, it's different folks, different strokes. That's really just kind of how it is, especially. And I think being able to tell each person's personality just by even the introduction conversation. I ask them how they're doing, just go through the plain old conversation. You're able to kind of start to get that read from there and just see how you want to play this, how you want to play it out, and just have those conversations from there. But Brian, I want everyone to know about what you do, how you do it. I mean, I know we're talking about a little bit about it, but please tell me about your services and just how the best people can be able to access you and just be able to see if they're listening to this and say, I really am interested in hearing about more about this. What's the best way to access Brian Decoded?
So if someone needs direct services and need a high-profile website that's going to make their company look reputable, they can book a discovery call on Alpha Efficiency website and apply to work with us over there. As far as my personal side of things, where I'm sharing my story, the best way to reach me is to sign up on my newsletter, briandecoded.com.